will present here to help HM's company to solve their issues. And here is our declaration. And this is our division of the works. I'm Yiming and the speaker, and I will cover the risk assessment. Ying will do the video edition, and she will cover the literature review, and Lily will do the key issues and do the video taker, and Louis will do the strategies and implementation. Here is our content, and the literature review will come first, and followed by the key issues, strategies, implementation, and the risk assessment. Now I will pass on to my partner Ying to cover the literature review.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the first consultant. I'm Anna, and today I'm going to introduce the literature review in our presentation. So, firstly, I will introduce what is economy downturn. It is a declination in the nation's productivity rather than growing, and because of the slowing down economic growth, it will cause the unemployment, higher inflation, and a depressed stock market. As you can see in this chart, due to the economic downturn, they will have influences on the GDP in Australia. They have a huge drop from 2008 to 2011, as you can see in this chart. And then economic downturn will cause the fluctuation of the commodity price, and also will have impact on energy commodity prices change. And two of these will have a huge impact on the world GDP growth, as you can see in the second chart. So, due to the economic downturn, I will give you an example. Like if you are in the mining companies, there will be constraint in the supply chain due to the economic downturn, and the mining industry will be suffer from 6 elements such as the people, procurement power, projects, permits, policies, and also resulting in declining stockpiles of various minerals. So what's the impact of economic downturn? Economic downturn will have impacts on organizational climate, such as they will have influence the employees' behavior. They will feel and afraid of their job will be called on because of the economic downturn, and they also feel the impacts on currencies, especially when the US dollar be weakened. They will influence the commodity prices, and due to the commodity prices changes, the GDP will also be affected, and in the end, the company business development will be limited or constrained due to the economic downturn. So here I will give you some definition. What is downsizing, redundancy, and redeployment here? First of all, downsizing is to reduce the workforce that in company intending to improve their organizational performance. And also the workforce reductions requires a process of employees, how they're coping and adapt this kind of issue in the company. And also redundancy here, just so you can see, it means the employee's position was occupied by other people, and when the employee is no longer be employed due to the insolvency or bankruptcy. Redeployment is an operational process that aims to relocate current employees elsewhere in the organization. In more complex circumstances, the employees' jobs may be divided and then redeployment to various types of other employees. So in this flow chart, you can see downsizing includes and also can divide it into redundancy and redeployment. And redundancy includes voluntary redundancy and compulsory redundancy. And first step, when you go into a redundancy process, voluntary is the first stage of redundancy. while some people positively encouraged to be redundant, and those people are volunteered to be redundant in this company. And the second step is compulsory redundancy. The employees will be ceased or into be ceased to carry on the business because of the company want to cut down their costs. So in the right hand side they have a picture that's showing you different types of downsizing approaches have different level influence of employees. So here is the diagram and the model. What is the downsizing strategies? Downsizing strategy is due to the motivation of economy and institution and social cognitive impacts, and then they will have a downsizing strategy. And because of the downsizing strategy, they will have influences on the workforce performance, such as will influence the employees' productivity and the employees' behavior in organizations, and also will have a huge impact for their commitments and job certification. In the end, they will turns out have a huge impact for the firm's performance in terms of financial, market, social, and innovation. So motivation is due to the Maslow hierarchical model. First, on the top of the model is self-actualization. It means it's understanding and how the people they're managing their motivation in order to achieve the ambition in the end. And motivation also is dividing into intrinsic motivation, which is affected by personal enjoyment, interest, or pleasure. And intrinsic motivation is caused by external factors such as the rewards and compensation in the company. And also the extrinsic motivation will directly affect the intrinsic motivation for employees. So what is morale? Morale is employees how they are perceived their work environment in terms of a sense of belonging and motivation in order to meet organization achievement. And morale is a state of mind. Values includes values and employees' attitudes and beliefs, which will be shared by their colleagues in the group within companies. So this is our conceptual framework. It explains that in this case, morale and motivation is significant factors that will affect in the end is the productivity and the job performance in the company. So due to the downsizing and organizational climate, such as bullying, water cooling, will also influence the employees' morale and motivation. And due to the downsizing, such as redundancy and redeployment in this case, they will also decrease their employees' morale, such as the survival syndrome. The employees will be afraid and will feel anxiety and have a lot of anxieties because they feel they will be maybe the next one to be redundant in this company. So I will pass to the key issue for Lily to explain the case study.
Thanks, Anna. I'm Lily and I'm a second consultant. Now I'm moving on the key issue that HMS is during downturn. As you can see in this table, there are three key areas such as management, organizations, behavior, and human resources key issues. In different areas, I list out two major issues. In management, the key issue are first, the resources investment has paid, and the major projects are moving from construction to productions. In the organization's behavior, the water cooler and bully are the key issue, and in the human resources, redundancy and survival syndrome are the key issues. I will explain each issue later on. So first, we talk about the management key issue when the resources investment has paid. The first chart is the Australia oil and gas sector. It has grown dramatically over the past decade. oil and gas investment reached 64.6 million US dollar in 2013 and 2014, around 20 times the size of investment in 2003 and 2004. The sector has been dominated by just a handful of major projects. The second chart is the iron ore sector. The investment has increased significantly over the last 10 years, reaching a peak of 20.7 million US dollar in 2012 and 2013. The major players like BHP Billiton, Rio Tinto have invested heavily in their operations in Western Australia. The third chart is in the coal sector. The coal's investment peaked in 2012 and 2013 at 11.8 billion US dollar. However, recently it has dropped by 22% in price. Falling coal price and increasing operating costs have resulted in a number of high-cost mines shutting down. Some major projects have also delayed and they are no longer feasible. This situation also happened with the oil and gas sector and iron ore sector. The second issues of management is the major projects are moving to the productions. We use oil and gas sector in Australia as an example. The construction service are expected to drop by 50% between 2014 and 2020, falling from 18 million US dollar to 9.2 billion US dollar. At the same time, the operations service are forecast to grow to 30.9 million US dollar, with drilling service expected to shift from the west to the east coast and from the offshore to the onshore projects. So, when the major projects are moving to the productions, this will affect not only to the economic but also to the organizations. When the organizations have to decide to cut costs by cut down the workforce, I will explain this later. Moving to the organization's behavior issue with water cooler and bully. Water cooler talk those are those nasty rumble sessions that employees like to have from time to time at work. During those discussions, negativity takes the lead and gossip rule the day. On the other hand, gossip in the workplace can be deadly to the company. Some experts compare it to the disaster that speak uncontrollably, destroying everything in his path. The office water cooler has long been a place to gossip, but in today's increasingly angry and malicious society, the nature and intensity of gossip have increased. Similarly with bullying, when people are put in the positions of power, they start talking more, taking what they want for themselves, ignoring what other people say or want, ignoring how less powerful people react to the behavior. They also act more rudely and generally treating any situation or persons as a means for satisfying their own needs. So both water cooler and bully damage organizations, including difficulties implementing organization's change, lowering organizational commitment, decreases productivity, and also diminishing organizational performance. Move to the last issue. The last issues are belonging to the human resources. When the mining industry is in the downturn, so the redundancy is an instrument that help the company cut costs and also increase the profits. Most of mining firms in Australia is using this method. For example, Woodside Petroleum would run the Karratha gas plants and Pluto LNG project in the city of Karratha began taking jobs. In a statement, the company said it's conducted a review of its operations to address a downturn in the commodity market, and 300 staff across the business in Perth and Karratha will lose their job over next couple of months. BHP also want to remove the full-time and permanent employees who live locally. Same with Yanco Australia, when they will drop 170 employees from the Alberta and the Round Mine and up to 55 employees from the All-Star Mine in the Hunter Valley. So the redundancy have negative impact on the victim, that all we can see, but they also have the negative impact on the survival, and the survival syndrome are another issue. in the human resources. The research suggests that downsizing negativity influence job satisfactions and commitment among workers. They also create communications barriers within the organizations. Workers also respond negatively to the increase in the workload and feel greater job insecurity, an increase in job-related stress, and a decline in the mental and physical health. Furthermore, the survivor also feel guilty and sympathy for the layoff victim. All those negative factors undermine the original intentions of downsizing. That is to say, it may not necessarily rise level of productivity, but rather lead to decline in the productivity. So, how the HMS deal with this issue? The next part of this presentation will be presented by Louise, the third consultant, with the strategies and the implementations. Thank you.
Thanks to Lily. I'm the third consultant, Vu Thi. I will briefly introduce our recommendation and then discuss those strategies with advice and implementation. According to key issue, we suggest the following strategies based on three main categories. Under management strategy, HMS could start considering expansion to other countries for further growth. HMS also could downsize their company to save expenses to maintain their level of profitability. To reduce the workplace incivility, HMS could provide detailed policy to prevent future improper behavior. The training should be conducted to spread the value and new strategies of company to climb employees while encourage for better performing. Provide compensation with clear key performance measures and award brings productivity towards an effective and efficient way. As part of downsizing of HMS, redundancy plan should ask for voluntary redundancy and following with compulsory redundancy, processing with induced and involuntary redeployment. The opportunity of expansion has already appeared. The demand of infrastructure development in Southeast Asian countries will increase significantly in the next decade. As shown on the graph, the increasing trend of investment demonstrates that the countries, including Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand, represents a huge potential market for investing in their infrastructure. The rich mineral resources in those countries carry opportunities to mining companies. We suggest HMS entry into those markets and cooperating with local partners. For example, doing joint venture to increase productivity and expand their business. HMS, which contains advanced technology and opportunity operations, which gives them a great competitive advantage. While the decision of restructuring as introduced by my colleague Lily, the major projects HMS has changed from construction to production to eliminate costs involved in the process. Managers could deliberate cost-saving process while reducing the number of employees during the operation. The management strategy requires large cost and time consuming. Manpower needed in the process would affect to all of the departments. Facing workplace incivility, HMS could send policies in detail to restrict employees' behavior while create consistency working environment. In the routine training program, the education of new policies could also be included. Employees should be informed clearly about the new policies. The company could follow the process shown below. HMS could start from reviewing existing policy and then find out the loopholes in it, and then create their particular policy for those weaknesses. Controlling the process of applying new policies with supporting service. The training program could help them to understand in the practice. The HMS should also provide communication channel to share knowledge in the company to control the outcome of the training program. As other mining companies such as BHP Bulletin, they set key performance measurements to encourage their employees to achieve a higher level of performance. The outstanding work will be awarded by financial support or helping them to achieve their personal goals. HMS could also follow this structure to set their particular key performance measurement. The production of HMS will show a significantly increase after this strategy executed properly. Then those organizational behavior strategy require lower cost with less time consuming. And also the policy and the training will involve in all the departments. The manpower involved will be limited. Let's move on to the suggestion on human resource strategy. Redundancy and redeployment are necessary in the process. As the contract keeps decreasing, no matter which management strategy to choose, the redundancy process is imminent. We suggest HMS to apply LIFO process. The process of the redundancy will be conducted under proper redundant situation. Identify the jobs which is no longer needed for employees to carry out work for a particular kind, select from particular pool of people, and going through the consulting process with employees, provide various supported alternatives to those employees, such as job sharing, voluntary retirement, and redeployment, offering those employees redundant payment. We suggest HMS to shrink their size with around 100 employees. The effect of redundancy and the financial and operational aspect will suggest HMS to cut most of the jobs from employees who were serving the company less than 1 year. The second large move is to ask the elder employees for voluntary retirement. The human resource managers could discuss with operational manager to remove those employees who were not performing well in the company. Then the total cost of redundancy would be over $1 million. The time required for each stage of redundancy plan is suggested as following. The manpower will be involved in a large amount of process. To survive in this process, HMS must ensure that each employee must be treated fairly. The consultant process with employees should be under proper standard. HMS should provide the direct communication channel to let employees to present their own opinions with supporting for their decisions. For rest of the employees, HMS should reprocess the workload for prevent unfairly divided work. Also, HMS should deliver support for developing opportunities for the remaining employees. This is all for our strategies and applications. Now I will pass on to Abby to talk about risk assessment.
Thanks, Louis. I'm the fourth consultant, Yiming, and I will introduce the risks within the strategies and implementation. Firstly is the risk of expansion that include the political and the security risk, which will influence the HMS international performance. From the aspect of political risk, the mining industry in emerging markets is considered as the most susceptible sector to political risk, since it represents a significant percentage of GDP, employment, and the revenue. Evidently, the host country government will seek to renegotiate with the company about the concession agreements ranging from a simple review to an outright expropriation. Apart from a political risk from the national government, the local governments, community groups, and local competitors are also the sources of the political risk. For example, investors may face with a more indirect form of government intervention known as creeping expropriation, which refers to that the government substantially deprives the foreign investors of the use or benefits of their investments. Thus, the government can take the form of imposition of a tax regime. Taking the three challenging principles of Philippines as the example, first is the repeal of the 1995 Mining Act. It was issued by the Catholics that regularly accuses foreign mining companies for being responsible for environmental degradation, human rights abuse, and economic disenfranchisement. In July 2010, the Catholics sent the president a public letter asking him to repeal the 1995 Mining Act, except that it only opened the country's natural resources to exploitations by the foreigners. Next is the writ of qualification. It's a recent environmental protection law confirmed by the Supreme Court in 2010 as a part of comprehensive judicial reform program to environmental justice and address the delays in the resolution of environmental cases. Third one is a provincial level bans on mining. In mid-2010, Governor of the Southern Philippine Province placed a ban on open cut mining and all other forms of mining, which create the uncertainty for gold and copper project being developed jointly by the global giants. So, from the perspective of security risk, nowadays in Southeast Asia, millions of people still digging, detecting, and paying for mineral resources in a traditional dangerous way, producing a very large amount of minerals that is easily to lead to the injury and death. Now, from the risk of downsizing, the most obviously effect can be the survival syndrome. Survivors will reflect with anger, anxiety, fear, and stressless. Thus, the survivors' commitment to the organization and their motivation and job satisfaction will be reduced. This series of reactions will affect the survivors' behaviors, such as the intention to turn over and the resistance to change, even to take risks, so that it will threaten the security of the particular company. Next, from the risk of the strategies of the organizational issues, once the new policies are put into practice, it will take time for employees to get used to these new regulations and systems. Thus, when they are doing something without the full realization of the new policies, conflicts will occur to influence the effectiveness and efficiency, and the direct victim of these conflicts should be the HMS company. Then for the redundancy and redeployment, the risk can be that the lawsuits and the survival syndrome. As I mentioned survival syndrome before, it will lead to some negative impact to the company. Now I will mainly introduce the lawsuits. So according to the Fair Work Act in 2009, there is a strict definition of genius redundancy. Once a company conduct the redundancy that have not totally followed the process, employees who think they were dismissed unfairly can sue the company, then the company will be penalized. So after the analysis of the risks above, based on this risk matrix, we can see that the political risk and lawsuits rank extremely high. Then the risk of security risk and the survival syndrome rank medium, and the risk of conflicts and job insecurity ranks low. Therefore, we recommended that the HMS company should reconsider all the strategies and implementation that can lead to the high political risk and the lawsuits, to make sure that this kind of risk can be taken into control. And that's all for our presentation, and thanks for your attention.